people who were able to take it further. Jay Prince sat down with Joe Rogan. Oh, it was an amazing discussion. He also, Jay Prince is promoting his book right now, but he went and sat down with Joe Rogan.
Is this a new book?
Yes, it's not another one. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh no. This is the same one. Respect.
It's the same book.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sat down with Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I still need to read that.
Sat down with 85 South, and then he went somewhere else too. That was like that just blew my mind that he was sitting down having the type of discussion that he was. But he talked about the Bay. But he also spoke about the conspiracy of the powers to shut down Black independence as it pertains to music. People don't know, and he speaks about it in his book, that Jay Prince, Suge Knight, and the Gotti brothers from Murder, Inc. were slotted to start the first Black-owned distribution company. And that may not ring off to everyone as to why it's important. But distribution, as far as music is concerned, is where all the money is, where all the bread is. What these streaming companies serve as now, these DSPs, what Empire spun off and made a distribution. It became a distribution portal, a distribution label, and then built their own portal. CD Baby, DistroKid, TuneCore. The indie artists know what the fuck I'm talking about right now. Suge Knight, Irv Gotti, Jay Prince were gonna do that in the 90s. And he's like, yeah, you see how they got Suge up out of here and took all the music, all that Death Row music is owned by a fucking toy company now. Mm-hmm. The feds came down and put some bullshit, tied Murder Inc. up into some bullshit litigation that had nothing to do with them and wiped them out completely. And they were trying to get Jay Prince, and that nigga's just built different.
Not by coincidence.
Man.
All that shit is not by coincidence.
It's not by coincidence. And so when we look at 2020 in the landscape of music now.
Also, don't forget that the Black Panther movement out here.
Man.
Like that's another reason. That's another reason for the way that the America as a whole has a foot on the neck of Oakland.
Yeah.
Like they will not pay attention to Oakland. So like maybe the industry may have like moments where industry definitely pays attention to them, but there might be moments where it doesn't seem like, Oakland is like at the epicenter of this all. But best believe there's always attention on this area. You can't have an entire population of a certain location think on their own the way that we do out here.
Yeah.
Like that's not good for the overall establishment.
Independent thinking, bro, is just dangerous. You start to talk about forming, their own private sector of education. You start combing through the Constitution with a fine comb and figuring out what your actual rights are, what the actual laws are, and what liberty we are actually afforded. And that shit is dangerous, bro. And a lot of that is had through a lot of that is had through the lens of economic freedom and economic independence. And I'll never forget at the beginning of the pandemic, sitting down with the family and just having general discussion. And based on what I was reading, I was rereading Spook Who Sat by the Door fresh after reading The Water Dancer. I wouldn't recommend it, but I was on 1,000 G.
It was always
on one, right? And I go, man, if we really doing the math on it, Jim Crow was lit for niggas.
Yeah, see.
Oh shit! Why did I say that?
See.
In front of some elders who actually lived it, boy, and I never felt so bad for misusing information and having it land as dismissive or arrogance. There's a way to say that there's a way to enter that discussion with retaining respect for the people who lived it, right? And we ultimately got to a healthy place, but I remember the initial, like, what the fuck did you just say? And I was like, no, hear me out. Just in terms of us having to fuck with us and having our dollar circulate amongst us is what I meant.
There's also a way to update the way Jim Crow took place.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately during Jim Crow there's way too much control over what it is that we thought that we had control over.
Yeah.
You know, so like, yeah, we was moving a certain type of way and like people had this independent thought, but think about it now and like where's all that gained from that moment? That shit could be wiped right off the fucking earth because of the fact that we didn't really have the actual control that we thought that we'd have. We had the mental control, which we need to establish that shit now.
Yeah.
Like somehow, some way, let's establish to get our mentals back somehow, some way.
Yeah.
And then put that shit down to now where I don't care what anybody says. Like, if you want to move out of America, move out of America. But this is the time in America where there's such a heightened sense of there's such a heightened sense on like what racial boundaries are, what your sexual boundaries are, what all these different boundaries are. There's actually a fight that could be made for each individual as a person in order to make your life be somewhat better. So if you were to somehow rig the game by having a very strong mental during a time where people are
everybody's fragile,
so fragile, then this is the perfect time. So you have to just utilize it that way. You can't get caught up in like all the day-to-day randomness and like, you know, the day-to-day toying with the minds of the masses that will just immediately react to it, as we've seen with how the left reacts to a lot of things. And this is not that type of pod. We're not about to go.
No, we going there because Bernie put out that. Have you read that yet?
What's that?
When he calls Trump an authoritarian, but it's him being able to ascend to that level of power is a grade A indictment of the Democratic Party.
Oh, completely.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like you're right. Let's not go there. But it's like how long we been saying that shit?
Yeah.
How long we been having that discussion? G?
Yeah. No, that shit was an indictment on all parties,
everybody.
Yeah. For him to be able to just sleep past everyone and really talk to the individuals that have been overlooked throughout this time, because like I've said, in the setup of the caste system, they gave the lower end of the dominant caste is race. Like, you guys are going to be above all the rest of them. So therefore, how did they start reacting? Trump talked to their souls. They've been sitting on the bottom end of the dominant caste with all this privilege, supposedly, that you're telling me that I have, but I have no economics to prove it. So all I have right now is my vote, and that nigga's talking to me specifically.
Facts.
He gonna get me up from where I am in these swamps. Them motherfuckers still in them swamps. They ain't left the swamps. But that was a one, haha, got y'all motherfuckers at least.
Just the
you know
one.
What I'm saying? Like,
just
that,
the one.
That was the one, I got y'all motherfuckers though.
Just
so,
give
like,
me one shoe, BDB. One shoe.
Fucking BDB.